good afternoon, and welcome to another office hours for the FastStore beta. My name is Victor, and I'm a software engineer here at VTEX, and I'm currently working on the FastStore team. And I'll also be your host for today's event. So, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so our first section for today is the announcements. In this section, we'll be bringing you the latest news from the team to keep you up to date with what we've been working on, some cool events coming up, or sometimes just ask you for some feedback. Yeah, overall, just show some cool stuff. And awesome. So the first one for today is there was an update on how to set up a VTEX account for FastStore, and we have a new VTEX CLI plugin for the FastStore. And Jimenez is here to tell us a bit more about it. Hey, Jimenez.
Hey, how are you, Virginia? Yes,
Hi.
so we had some setup to be done for using FastStore with a VTEX account, and the setup used to be done by one of our experts. But now we have this new CLI for helping you to set up your VTEX account for FastStore. So what do? You just come here, install our plugin, our FastStore plugin on VTEX CLI, log into the account that you want to set up, and then just run VTEX FastStore setup. This will guide you through the process. This will install some apps, do some setup on the account, and on the end of the setup, you should be good to go.
Awesome, awesome. So it's as easy as that, right? Like you just run one command and everything will work just fine. You don't need to ask for a CX or for assistant anymore, right? It's fully like you can just go and do that, right?
Yes, that's it. It will install some apps
Awesome.
and guide you through the process, and then yeah.
Awesome. That's great. That's great. Awesome. Thanks, Jimenez.
Thank you, Miranda.
Okay, we'll be seeing Jimenez again in a while, but let's move on to the next one. This is actually very exciting as well. Like we've been meaning to do this for a while, and it's finally done. So the FastStore API documentation is now available on Graphical. And yeah, like the nice thing is that FastStore API now has a documented schema. And Pedro is here to tell us a bit more about that, and also to show us how it looks.
Hi, Vitor. How are you doing?
Fine, you?
Yes, I'm cold, but I'm good. Um,
Yeah.
so, as you were saying, we have made available the FastStore API schema documentation on the GraphQL IDE. And I'm sure, as many of you know by now, while you're working on a project, a FastStore project, you can run your project locally and experiment with stuff, and you can also use the GraphQL IDE to explore the API. And you do this by going to localhost 8000 dash underline GraphQL, GraphQL. But well, the difference with this documentation is now that you can go to docs and you can browse through the types. So I'm using Gatsby Store here to do this demo, and as you can see, there are lots of plugins that come from Gatsby. But if we go all the way down, we can see the FastStore API stuff and with the descriptions. And maybe you're working here and you want to know what's up with all products. What's this type? So if we search in this tab, we can now see more information about it, and we hope this will improve your experience and help share knowledge on the FastStore API. This is a small step. We're getting more documentation done soon, we hope.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
that
Sorry, Vitor. Just one thing. In order to use this, you will need to reinstall the FastStore API dependency. In our release note, you can see step by step how to use it. But once you reinstall the FastStore-API dependency, you can run yarn develop as you may have already done before to preview your store, and then head to this address in order to explore the FastStore API and see the descriptions, the updated descriptions we have.
Awesome, awesome. That's great. I mean, it will probably make it much easier, right? To like actually come up with the queries that you want, discover what actually like what all of the fields mean, right? Because there are some fields that have like short names, and that's intentional, right? Because we don't want to be too verbose. But like the documentation actually like fills in that gap, right? So that's awesome. That's great.
Yes.
And another thing, right? Like you can also see the schema. Like if you don't want to run it directly on your store, right? Like in Gatsby Store, for example, because as you said, like as you also showed, when you run it in Gatsby Store, you're getting like a bunch of types because Gatsby like makes the schema bigger, right? Because it adds like its own internal queries. But you can also like this also works if you just go like straight. If you just run your develop in the FastStore API repo, right? Like in the actual FastStore repo, that might be a way to like check in a like with a smaller schema, right? So you can see the definitions for the types and everything. So yeah, that looks great. That looks great. It's awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
sure. That's also a way to view it. You get a much lighter version, and you can be more direct in what you want to explore, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess that would be useful for like shorter tests, but that it's also a way, right? Nice. That's awesome. Just like shout out to you because well, you were the one that actually wrote those things, so thanks a lot.
No, I mean I had I learned a lot doing it. It was pretty fun.
Awesome, awesome. Oh, great to have you here, and thanks for coming. Thanks a lot, Pedro, and hope to see you soon. Bye.
Bye, Vito. Thank you.
Awesome. So that's what we had for you today in terms of announcements, at least. There's still a lot to come. And if you want to keep up to date with everything that we've been working on, just make sure to check out faster.dev/releases. Like that's the first place where all of these things usually come out. Like if you just keep an eye there, you will probably get to know these like even before we come here in the office hours and then tell you. So there you go. Keep an eye out for that. All right. So let's go to our next section. Ask the community. This session is all about you. It's it's centered on our developer community, and this is where we bring you some of the questions that you left for us at VTEX Community here to the office hours, so that we can give more in-depth answers. We usually like invite other people to come here and answer the questions live for you, as we did today, and more people get to see them as well, right? And well, so let's get started. Okay, so the first question is from Gabriel, and it's regarding GTM, like how to properly set up GTM. And well, for those of you who don't know, GTM means Google Tag Manager. So he's basically just asking us like, how do I properly set up Google Tag Manager on my store without any performance? Like, what's the good way to do this without getting like a big hit in performance, right? And to answer that, we brought Felipe here. Hey, Felipe.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to be here. So yeah, Gabriel asked, as you said, what's the recommended way to set up Google Tag Manager on our stores, our FastStore? And it was actually pretty simple to answer because our starters already come pre-configured with Google Tag Manager. So I mentioned here in my answer that if you look here on this file, the storeconfig.js, there's this GTM container ID key that you can just replace with the container ID for your Google Tag Manager container ID. So it's just you just have to replace this value, and the Google Tag Manager script is inserted in the pages via, we have a component called third-party scripts. So this component includes this other component called Google Tag Manager, which includes the default setup script for running Google Tag Manager. So here we can see that the container ID is just appended to the script and is inserted into the page. So it's pretty straightforward to configure this. And it's also worth mentioning that the way we include the Google Tag Manager and some other third-party scripts is via PartyTown, which is a new library that like offloads these tasks to a web worker instead of consuming the main thread where things are happening. So thanks to this, we can have a more performant implementation for Google Tag Manager and other third-party scripts. So I think that's pretty much it. There isn't much to say. Gabriel, if you are there, if you have any other like more specific questions, just you can just reply again, and we can see how we can help you.
Awesome. That's great. The code snippets that you showed are from Gatsby store, right? But I guess they would also be the same in Next.js store, right? It's
I'm sure there's the same files or similar, so it should be easily findable.
Awesome. So there you go. Thanks a lot, Felipe.
No problem.
See ya. Okay, awesome. So that was the first question. Now we move on to the second one, and this is about how to extend. How can I extend the default schema from FastStore API, right? So this one actually went for quite a while. We actually meant to bring this to you like in the next office hours, but we couldn't figure out like what exactly was like what wasn't working properly, because as Larissa said here, like she was trying to extend our store product, the default type that you get from FastStore API, right? She was trying to add a new field to it, which is cross-selling. And then like it just returns an array and just a simple type cross-selling, which has one property, and that property is simply a string. So like what she was going through was like, okay, I defined everything. I set up a new resolver, which is just returning like always the same value. So it's nothing too fancy here. Then merge the type defs, merging the type definitions that we get from FastStore API with the custom ones, like merging them together to create one single type def. That's what you need, right? To get the executable schema, you need type defs and you need the resolvers for those types. Then you just run this make executable schema function, and there you go. You get a schema that actually works. Okay. And like she was like, if we just look at the code, like everything was in order. Like she pretty much just followed what we had on our documentation. We do have a documentation piece on that, like how to extend our default schema. And the example is pretty similar to this one. I think we even extend the store product type. But anyway, she told us that, okay, I'm trying this, I'm running this. There's just one difference. Like in here, she's using Envelope as the GraphQL server. That's what we use on our base store or our Gatsby store. So things should be working fine, right? If I'm not mistaken, in the documentation, we just use like plain Express or Apollo. So it's a bit different. Like this part in the end is a bit different, but like the big picture idea is the same, and the process should be the same. Okay, and then like she just went to Graphical, ran the query, and was always getting like cross-selling was always returning no. So like it didn't matter what she did, it always returned no. So the resolver was not being executed properly, right? And then like Fernanda came here and sent the documentation that I just mentioned that teaches you how to extend the schema. But yeah, like she pretty much just followed the same steps, so everything looks fine. Then Jimenez suggested that these queries for like that actually are run on top of Gatsby that actually come from Gatsby will not work on GraphiQL right now. So you should probably use like a different IDE and just point that IDE, such as GraphQL Playground was the one that he cited here. You just point it to this URL/API. Yeah, Larissa, but keep them coming. They're great. And so on. Like you just have to point to /API/GraphQL. Then she tried that and it still didn't work. Like the IDE thing worked, but even when she was trying to execute the query in the store, like in the store code, in the component code, right? Like page queries, it was not returning anything, right? So Jimenez came here again, and then she tried something else, and it didn't work. And we also tried to like reproduce the thing, but then we had issues trying to reproduce this. And then finally, she left an answer here for us 3 days ago, saying that okay, I got it to work, and I followed the examples from the beauty starter. And first, that's great. That's awesome. It means that our starters are already helping people. So that's awesome. And I just came here to see like, okay, but why did it work? Like, what's the difference? And well, honestly, the beauty store started just to show you like how it differs from what we were trying to do. Here in the server, in the server folder, like they went with like this pattern. Like here you have the setup for envelope. As you can see here, it's importing things from envelope, blah, 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 and then exporting this, get envelope with everything, and get schema. Like this is just the default implementation, right? Like this is if you go to gatsby.store, you will find this exact same thing. This is like our default setup. And then they created this GraphQL folder and then extend. And here they're defining like what are the type defs that they want to extend. You can see that it's pretty similar to what she was trying to do, right? Just define type defs. Notice that this is a string, right? Define a type, then extend the type store product, and there you go. That's the fields that you're trying to extend. Then there's this project group. This is pretty much the same thing, right? It's just defining a bunch of things and then extending the original type. That's fine. Then this schema.js, what they're doing here, they're pretty much just like merging together all of the extensions that they're trying to do. Okay, you could have done this like in a single file, but I really liked like the way that they solved this because well, this scales better, right? Like you can just, if you want to extend another type, you would just create a new file here. Like I don't know, store collection. If you want to extend the collection type, you would just add a new file here and then import it here and add one more line to this type def. So this works very nicely. And then they mirrored like the same thing that they were doing to extend the schema. They did exactly the same for the resolvers. So where is it? Okay, so here you can see that they're defining resolvers for the types, for the fields actually, link and attributes, which are the ones that they added to the store product, link and attributes. And well, the same thing is true for this other one. And then variant, same thing. They're defining a resolver for policies. Okay, so given all of that, you have the index here. This is the interesting part, like, right? This is where you're actually defining like the whole GraphQL server thing. And what are they doing here? Okay, so they're importing all of the resolvers that they defined, the store product resolvers, store group resolvers, blah, 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 store config, awesome. Okay, and then they come here, they call this get schema. This function comes straight from our own package, right? Where is it? Here. FastStore API, get schema, get context factor. It's important to know that this get schema that you call from FastStore API will give you like our default kind of bare bones schema that comes from FastStore API, right? Okay, so you get the original one and you get the context factory. This one you will not worry too much. But then they define this function, get merged schema. This get merged schema function does exactly like what she was trying to do, right? Like it merges two schemas together. It merges like it merges the default schema, okay, the API schema that comes from FastStore API, and it extends it with some type defs and the resolvers that she defined, okay, that they defined here, and that's exactly what she was trying to do, okay? So I guess the difference between this solution and what she was trying to do and what's in our documentation is that you can see that here, where's the bit of code that I want to show you? No, here. Notice that here in the merge schemas, we're actually using like a custom schema and custom schema cross-selling, right? And this custom schema cross-selling is like an executable schema that was made only out of the type defs for the cross-selling merged and for the resolvers cross-selling, just things that were defined here, right? This is different to what they were doing here. Like they did not, like they just used our original schema, but added some type defs and resolvers. So that's the difference between the two. That's why this approach worked, and the one that she tried was not working. We actually have to like look closer into this because maybe we need to update our docs on how to extend this. But anyway, like that's the difference. That's why you made it work with the beauty store, like the way that they did there. It's not because of the fraud structure or anything like that. This is just a nice way of organizing things. It was because of this, like this call to merge schema is a bit different, and well, that's why. So there you go. And then the rest is pretty much the same. They just like, this is a function that returns the actual merged schemas, and then they call it here in envelope. And then envelope just uses the new schema, which is already extended. Okay, so that's it. That closes this question. Well, happy that you actually made it work, Larissa. And again, keep the questions coming. It's awesome. Okay, great. I talked a bunch, but there's another one. Okay, so the next one is about. I actually selected this question because I think it's something that like maybe a lot of you will try to do, and the solution is simpler than I thought, and it's pretty elegant. So I thought it was worth commenting, bringing here in the office hours. Okay, so what Larissa was trying to do is implementing a simple component of reviews. Like, how do I add product reviews? Like this one, like these, right? Like, what's the right way to do this? How can I do this without? Well, it's always like, okay, how can I do this without like messing up performance, or how can I do this using the things that you already give us? So how you can do this? George actually gave a great answer here, which is, well, we already have a working implementation of that in Store Framework, right? Like if you have a Store Framework store, you can just use the app reviews and ratings, which is this one. And it's nice that you use this one because like this app has three parts, right? Like there is the admin interface so that you can like manage things in the store's admin. Then there is the whole backend implementation for this, like that actually enables you to easily create reviews and then fetch those reviews. And there is the front end part, which is also like this all comes bundled into the single app, right? But the thing is, you don't have to use like all of those three, right? Like if you're using you can remember that like FastStore only handles like the front end, right? FastStore is only like the front end layer of your store. And then you're pretty much just connecting to a bunch of APIs from VTEX, and the admin is the same. And you're actually still using a VTEX account under the hood, right? So for example, if you install an app into the VTEX account that your front end gets its data from, things are going to work just fine, right? Like you can fetch the data from the front end with with very little problem. Okay, so that's what he said, and I think this is great for like everyone that is trying to implement a review system. Just try the same thing, like install the reviews and rating app in your store, follow the documentation that we already have on this, which is right here, reviews and rating. This is like the native VTEX IO solution. It might sound weird to like, I'm using something that was made for Star Framework, but I mean, it's fine. It works. It works. I mean, you're not using the front end components, which in Star Framework you would be using like the blocks that this app exports. You're just ignoring that and just using the nice admin settings so that you have an easier time setting things up, and the owner of the store as well. And well, the whole backend is already there for you, so it makes your life much easier. And then like based on that, you can also take a look at the source code for the reviews and rating. It's open source and it's at our VTEX apps. If you want to know like, okay, but how do I actually fetch data, how do I get the data, how do I post and create new reviews, and actually if you go to the if you follow the discussion here on this post from Larissa, there is like she already kind of told us like what are the routes to call, so it's much easier. Um, like she was having trouble with like actually creating a review, but in the end she figured out that well you can easily do that. You just have to send the body as a JSON object, and I mean things should work. So you can easily create reviews and read reviews using this. Okay, so there you go. If you ever want to implement a review component and add a product review section to your store, just use our default application that we already have for VTEX.io, which is the reviews and rating one. Take a look at the routes, try it out, and you should be able to implement that with no problem. Okay, awesome. So now that's what we have for you in terms of questions. Okay, well, thanks Felipe again for coming here to answer the first one in more detail, and well, thank you. Oh, where can I find the documentation about extending the schema? I will get the link and send to you. I mean, you can find it there in the question, like in the actual question, because it's in the answer. But I'll get the link real quick and send to you. Just a second. There we go. And there we go. That's the link. So if anyone wants to check out the documentation, there you go. Okay, so those are the questions that we had lined up for you today. And thanks for like sending questions, and don't forget to add the office hours tag to your question in VTEX Community, and then well we'll always take a look and bring them here to answer them live. Okay, so again, don't forget, add the tag office hours when you're creating your questions on VTEX Community. Okay, awesome. Now let's move on to the next and final section for today, which is the demo time. Well, the demo that we brought to you today is kind of a spoiler of a future announcement that should probably come next week. But well, it's about incremental static builds, and that's a very exciting topic. So we couldn't wait to bring it to you. And well, Jimenez is here to talk to us about it. Hey, Jimenez, welcome again. Welcome again.
Hi. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for this new release that we did, and well, we don't have an official release note yet, but it's coming pretty soon. But so what did we release? So we released a new feature called this incremental static build only 3 days ago. And so for this demo, I want you guys to understand what incremental static build is. I want you guys to understand the benefit it brings, how you guys can enable it, how you can guys test if it's actually working, and some of the trade-off this brings when you are using these incremental static builds. Okay. All right. So this was the original PR, and so for those of you who are using WebOps and developing a FastStore, you might know already that once you do a commit or open APR, we have like lots of bots from WebOps, and one of these bots is this build bot. So what does this build bot do? Basically, it grabs our code and transforms on HTML, JavaScript, and CSS for all of your pages. Okay. And why is it good? Well, the good part of this is that the HTML is ready before the user requests a page. So for instance, if the user is like navigating or opening a product page, the HTML is ready. So the user doesn't need to wait for any API to respond or any processing to happen. So it should be pretty fast. And the performance of your front end is bounded only by the quality of your HTML and JavaScript. So the performance of the APIs don't really matter on this case. And so basically, this is the good part of Jamstack, right? The bad part of Jamstack is that if you are creating all of those HTMLs for an account, for a store that have like lots of SKUs, say like 7,000 SKUs or even like millions of SKUs, this process can take a long time. So in this repo that I'm showing you guys, we have this store has like 7,000 SKUs, so 7,000 product pages, and the build was done in 4 minutes. So how did we manage to do this build in 4 minutes if we have like 7,000 pages being created? And that's where this incremental static build comes into play. So the idea is that when you are building the pages, you don't need to build all of the pages. You can build only a portion of the pages and then build the rest incrementally as the users kind of enter and see your page. So what are the benefits of doing this? So here I prepared an example for you guys. So this is like a product page from our starter. So, and then I opened this network tab and filtered by document so I can see the HTML being downloaded. And then I opened this timing tab that shows me how much time does it take to download the HTML. And in here, you guys can see that the browser, it waited for kind of like 5 seconds before being able to download the HTML. So what was happening, the page was kind of like being built on the infrastructure. And so this is like for the first access, this is the amount of time it takes for building a page. And so if like the next user comes and tries to load the page, once the page is built, the time it took for like downloading this page was just 150 milliseconds. So you guys can see like this is very like the performance got like very much better. All right. So this is the idea of like these incremental static builds. You don't build everything on the build process, so your build times are good, and your users don't really see much difference because in the end of the day, the users will see like this very low latency. All right. So how, and one of the final questions is, how do I see if like these pages are actually working? Are the incremental static build is actually working, right? Okay, so the answer is on this other tab here called headers. So if you open this header tab, you will see a new header being returned on the response headers called FastStore cache. So the idea is that once you get a miss, that page was not pre-built during the build process. So our infrastructure will have to build it and take some time. It's okay. It will take those 5 seconds. But the next time any user sees the page, it will get an FastStore cache hit, which means that the page is built. So any other user that will eventually come and see the page will get like the response pretty quick. Okay. So that there we have like the next FastStore cache hit. Okay, so this is how you usually see if the feature is working or if it's not working. And okay, so how do I enable it? So in here, I'm showing you a pull request done on our Next.js starter. So basically, all you have to do, so let's go to the code in here. Where is my code? Okay, here. So basically, you come here to your Next.js project, you come here to VTEX.env and enable this feature called use stale cache true. And that's pretty much it. So your deferred pages will start being incrementally generated. We do have other pull requests done on our Gatsby.js store as well. And in there, you guys can see like what you need to enable, what you need to, and what values you should change for that starter. So yeah, so in the end of the day, the store should be much faster now because like we don't really depend on any latency from any other external APIs. So that's pretty much it for the demo today.
Awesome, Juventus. Awesome. Wow, that looks great. That looks great. I have one question already, which is like, what, like, can all of our stores already adopt this? Like, what's the limitations? Like, does it work if your store is currently on Gatsby 3? Does it make any difference?
Oh yeah, so you should for using this, you should be on Gatsby 4 or Next.js. And I'm I'm really glad that you asked it because I forgot to say one thing actually. What are the limitations of this? And all right, so as you guys can see, we do this static generation, all right? And so the idea is that once the page is built, it is built forever on that build, on that version of the store. So for instance, if a user goes into the admin of VTEX and changes the product name or changes the product picture and saves, this will not take effect on production because the version of that store is built with that page and is built with those images, it's built with those titles. So for actually making a change to the store, like if the user goes into the VTEX admin and change something and want to see that replicated in production, if you're using this, you will have to come here to your repo and do a new publish. That will generate a new version of the store that then will generate new pages, and these new pages will fetch these new pictures and titles and descriptions.
Awesome. Then, like, you're pretty much invalidating all of the cache, right? So, like, you will get the misses again for like all of the pages, right?
Yes, you are invalidating the whole build. Yeah. And note
Yeah.
that this is not a problem for the price because the price and availability, they are fetched on the client. So so these values are they don't depend on the build, but they are live actually. Yeah.
Awesome. Nice. And can you easily tell like what's dynamic and what's not just by looking at the code? I guess you can, right? Because like if it's making queries on like if it's making clear queries on the client side, then it will not be included on the build, right? So like so that people can actually like know what are the trade-offs, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, on the code you should be able to tell like what's fetched dynamically, what's not, and like if you pay attention to this buy button over here, and if I throttle the internet, you will see that there's a loading state here, and this is because the actual data is being fetched on the client, and so on the code you should be able to tell it when there is a loading state or not.
Awesome. That's great. Well, I hope to see a lot of stores using this from now on. Yeah, that's awesome, and I mean it's also very easy to activate. So I hope people will give it a try, like because this is something you can test on branches as well, right? Like you can just
Yes.
this works on all deploy previews and everything. So you would be able to see how the navigation actually looks and everything before putting this in production, right? So that's awesome. Great.
Yes. And yes, sure. Yeah, it works everywhere and on all of our domains. And one thing that is really nice to pay attention to as well is that you really need to pay attention to this header. And if you pay close attention to the cache headers, they are private, max age 0 must revalidate. And this is on purpose. And why did we do that? It's because some of our customers, they use some other different CDNs in front of our web ops infrastructure. And we need to invalidate the builds as soon as they are deployed. So we do this because we don't want external CDNs caching these results because they may work on different ways. So even if you put like some max age on your response, expect the cache control headers to be private and max age 0 for the browser, but it's being cached on our infrastructure, so don't worry.
Awesome. Yeah, this is just to make sure that like the browser actually does the revalidation, right? Always.
Yes. It makes sure that the version that is on master is really the version that your users are seeing on the browser.
Awesome. That's great. All right. I guess that's it. Like I'm looking at the chat. We didn't get any questions so far. Yeah, I think we can wrap it up then. Awesome, everyone. So, well, thanks a lot for the demo, Jimenez. And I hope you all enjoyed it. And well, I mean, this is an open space. Like we try to do this for the community. So we would love to have some of you actually come here and like present as well. We've been like last week we actually got quite a few. We had two demos that were from the community, and it was awesome. We loved those. If you're following the office hours on Tuesdays, we also have been getting like quite a few demos from the community. So, well, there you go. Please come here and like present to everyone. I know that you're doing like some pretty awesome stuff, and well, we would love to share with everyone, right? So how can you do this? You just have to fill in the form at community.vtex.com/office hours beta. We're always like looking at the submissions, and so just submit there. We'll get in contact with you and schedule a good when is a good time for you to present your demo here. Okay, awesome. So with that, this is the end of this week's office hours on the FastStore beta. So I hope you all enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week. Bye.